Happy Wednesday, everybody. June the 4th. I'm Jeff Bidwell. Glad you're with us this morning here on Morning in the Valley. For those of you that were trying to stick around on Monday, and we had an aborted mission there right in the middle of the show. Thankfully, we were able to get through our interview with Belmont head coach Bart Brooks. But apparently, the entire this side of town here in Western Kentucky just had about a half-hour power outage. So everything kind of just went kaput on us. So glad we were able to get through the important stuff with Coach Brooks there on Monday. A couple headlines of the day from Monday we weren't able to get to at the time, but we'll cover those bases today. Coming up in about 10 minutes, we're going to talk with the men's basketball coach at Indiana State, Matthew Graves, getting ready for his second season as the head coach of the Sycamores. Some exciting scheduling stuff for him. I thought really some strong work in the transfer portal in trying to improve his program from last season. So we'll talk with Coach Graves coming up in about 10 minutes. If you haven't done so already, wherever you're listening to us today or watching us today, I guess either on X or YouTube or Facebook, if you haven't done so yet, please help us out. Head on over to YouTube, search out Morning in the Valley, subscribe to that page there, and that'll help get this show continued to grow and get in front of more eyeballs as we roll through the summer here. All right, first news of the day, and it is a first here on Morning in the Valley that we are talking about families and growing families. But last night, Bradley head coach on the women's side, Kate Popovic-Goss, announcing she and her husband Ollie are expecting their first child. So congratulations to Coach Pop. They are expecting a baby girl due in December, and obviously right in the middle of the season. But as we saw just a couple of months ago, Tennessee Lady Vols head coach Kim Caldwell gave birth to her child on January 26th. And 1 week later, she was back on the sidelines. So there are some badass women out there. And certainly Coach Pop she has been through some health struggles and challenges in her life. And she has cleared all those hurdles, and no, this one certainly don't want to call it a hurdle. It is awesome. I saw this last night. I know I'm getting older because I have interviewed Coach Pop once, maybe twice, and so I know her in the most peripheral way, and I know that she does not know me at all, and I could not have been happier for her and her husband Ollie, an assistant coach on her staff. And so she had a little social media video posted last night of telling the team, and it was basically like walking into the team meal or meeting, whatever was going on, and it was just a collective jaw drop from her players, and they were all very excited. So congratulations to Coach Popovic-Goss, her husband Ollie, and hopefully next 6 months it is smooth sailing, everything's great. We can get baby girl here in December, and then she can be back on the sidelines as soon as she would like and is able as quickly as possible there. And I think we have a very good lead on the fact that the very first scholarship offer for the Bradley women's basketball program for the class of 2044 will probably stay within the Goss family there. So congratulations to Coach Pop. All right, back to on the court stuff for this year. It has been Coach Courtney Boyd at Valparaiso has been having to fill out her roster and fill out her staff, and they have been very busy here in the last couple of days trying to get that roster complete. They are not a lot of teams have got kids coming onto campus here already. They're here this past weekend. Indiana State, and we'll talk with Matthew Graves. They have their first summer workouts. They start on Monday. Valpo's women aren't until later in the month, so they've got a little more time to get that roster set. But 3 more commitments here in the last couple of days for Valpo, and a lot of size that Courtney Boyd is bringing in. And we'll start with 6'3" forward Milana Nenadic. She spent 2 years at Maine, 1 year at Idaho State, a 6'3" forward, highly touted coming out of high school from Canada. But for whatever reason, things have just not worked collegiately for her. In her 2 years at Maine, 1 year at Idaho State, she has played a total of 11 games. She has played a total of 29 minutes and scored a total of 8 points. She's still got 2 years remaining with the Beacons. but she is coming in as, again, highly touted. And this is what, we talk about, sort of the distressed assets, kids that have not had their opportunities to really showcase that potential and try to reach that potential. And Nadadic will have that opportunity with Courtney Boyd. Another large addition, another 6'3" forward is Cameron Winch. She is a Division II transfer from Maryville University, redshirted 1 year, played 2 years, but it was like 4 minutes a game her freshman year, or 5 minutes a game her freshman year, 4 minutes a game her sophomore season, has played a total of 75 minutes in 2 years. So she will have 2 years left remaining as well. And then the last addition to the Valpo roster, as we try to find it here, and it is a Bay Junior College transfer, Kennedy Sproles. She is from Bay Junior College up in Michigan, 6'1" guard. I mean, so we got 6'3", 6'3", 6'1", all coming in. She's going to have 2 years remaining as well. Averaged 14 points a game, almost 7 rebounds as a 6'1" guard there at Bay Junior College. Shot about 31% from three. But bringing some size in for Coach Boyd, again, when they are able to get onto the court coming up later this month. The coaching staff for Coach Boyd also has been rounded out, as Valpo recently announcing the hire of Dale Linderwell, who is spent 8 years with Courtney Boyd, 6 at Clark University, the last 2 at Quincy. And so familiarity coming in there to the Beacons program for Coach Boyd with the hiring of Dale Linderwell. On the coaching front, we have another addition, this one in Evansville, as Coach Robin Schur has added new assistant coach Imani Gordon, who brings some head coaching experience to that staff. She played at Cleveland State. She was a GA at Cleveland State, spent 4 years as an assistant at Notre Dame College, which is in Euclid, Ohio, just up the road from Cleveland. And then she spent 3 years as a head coach there. After her time there ended as a head coach, she went and spent 2 years at Northern Illinois, a coaching change at NIU this year. Things opened up. She's now at Evansville, but anytime you can add a former head coach to your staff, that's certainly a really big positive for Coach Scheer. So Imani Gordon joining the staff there at Evansville. All right, speaking of Evansville, we have some player moves. I guess these are one addition, a couple of departures that we already knew about. Head coach David Ragland announcing finally the signing of Aaron Gutman. He's from Walton, Kentucky, played his high school basketball here in Kentucky at Walton Verona High School. He's the program's all-time leading scorer. Again, that commitment was made last month, but he is officially signed and ready to roll there. A couple of old friends alerts, if you will. Michael Day, the now former big man from Evansville, he is signed with Division II Northwest Nazarene. They had so much size, and he's at 6'11", but when you have, Turnbull and Hughes, and it was hard to find some real estate in there. 27 games last year, played about 10 minutes a game, but he's going to go try to find some more time and success at Division II Northwest Nazarene. And then former Evansville guard Ramondo Battle II, he's committed to North Carolina Central. He played 4 games last year in November, averaged about 2.5 points, stepped away from the program due to personal issues and never returned. But he has found a new home here down at North Carolina Central. All right, our guest is here, and it is time to welcome him in. He is the head coach of the Indiana State Sycamores, and he is head coach Matthew Graves. Coach, good morning. How are you today?
I'm doing well, Jeff. How are you this morning?
I am awesome. It's great to see you. Monday, things get going. Summer workouts there in Terre Haute. What is your personal priority here for these next 5 days before business picks up?
The first thing is to find name tags. With eight new guys, I got to make sure everybody gets to know everybody. But we've got a lot going on. Monday with getting as many guys as we can here. We'll have a couple international kids that won't be here yet due to different circumstances, whether it's clearinghouse or visa issues or one of our players from last year, Bruno Alathan, will not be with us the entire summer. He's participating in the U20s in Spain, so a great opportunity for him. But everyone else, will be here and just kind of getting in a rhythm, getting to know everybody. And then, oh, by the way, we've got little kids camp starting on Monday too for 2 weeks. So a lot happening this first week coming up.
Looking at your first season there at Indiana State as the head coach, started out 8-4 and coming after Christmas 6-14, and so many close games, just couldn't get over the hump in a lot of ways. But what when you kind of audit last year, what happened after Christmas? Maybe where things went a little more sideways than you would have hoped.
Well, I think early on, we started slow. Obviously, the first game is one of those that I never want to go back and watch that film with FAU. It's like, oh boy, this is going to be a long year. But we started to figure some things out. We got in a really good rhythm. But you get into the Missouri Valley Conference, and there was such great parity this past season. And I think ultimately, we played well. We just couldn't capitalize, late in games. With 4 or 5 minutes to go, we'd be in the ball game, whether we were up, tied, possession or two. And we just didn't have, enough firepower to get things done. We lacked a little bit of playmaking, in reflection. I need to do a better job of, putting guys in better positions to, be successful and achieve down the stretch. So, certainly we address some of those issues with our roster, with our playmaking, but also I've got to be better. That's just plain and simple. Down the stretch, close games, we've got to have a better identity at doing some things, especially on the defensive side of the ball.
You played 15 games last year. I know this is not a secret to you. 15 games last year, decided by 5 points or fewer.
Oh, yeah.
You go 5-10. I mean, it's just every night it's a grinder, and a lot of that is the league and so on. 3 of those losses in overtime, including Bradley and Drake at the top of the league. When you're it's year one for you, and you've got this new team, and you're trying to get through it. When you have that many close games, is it more frustrating that we can't get over the hump, or is there a level of optimism of, man, we're knocking on the door, we just got to kick this thing in?
No, I think it's more optimism. I'm a glass, half full guy. I think, again, I think it starts with me at the top. You got to self-reflect and, think about, different ways we can steal a possession. at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. We needed to be able to steal 1 to 2 possessions at some point, during the game to help us get over the hump. And I feel like with myself, the staff that we put together, we can do those sort of things. And every year though, it's gonna be a new team. There's not a lot of continuity. We've flipped half our roster. Whether it's through graduation, guys moving on to a different spot, or guys that we didn't, had that conversation where it was just kind of mutually beneficial that we part ways. I think that's why the summer is so critical, to get everybody on the same page, to get everybody locked into what, you're doing on both sides of the ball. And, it's really the modern day training camp kind of begins on Monday.
I talked with Rob Eson at UIC a couple of weeks ago, and your career paths have some similarities of, you've been a head coach before, and then there's a break, and then you come back, and now not only a post-COVID, but a post-portal world now. Head coach at South Alabama for 2013 to 18, and then 6 years later, now you're back running your own program. How much has the profession changed from the first time around, and how hard have those adjustments been for you to sort of reacclimate yourself to, this is not the job that I once had?
Yeah, no, it's interesting. There's a lot of ebbs and flows in it, and it's been, there's a lot of positives and negatives at both stints. I think, for me personally, in the kind of modern day era of the way basketball is, I think South Alabama would have been an easier job in 2013 to 2018. Back then it was really hard to recruit transfers because they had to come and sit out, and you didn't have as many opportunities to recruit certain types of individuals because of the way the transfer portal was. And at the same time, I was out of region, so it was out of my comfort zone a little bit. But I've said this many times, I would never trade that 5-year experience. It's really stretched me, made me a much better coach, really added to my toolbox, being able to have that experience after, being really fortunate to, be at Butler University for really 17 years when you count, the 5 years as a player. So, coming to Indiana State in my wheelhouse here in the Midwest, I'm 50 miles from where I grew up. This is home for me, and, I feel a lot more comfortable, feel much more prepared because of, those 5 years of experiences at South Alabama, coaching a year at Evansville, 2 years at Xavier, and then, being here 3 years prior to being the head coach with Coach Schertz. So all those things has really added up to expanding my toolbox and making me more comfortable. But you come full circle, and I'm a guy that I love relationships. I love, building a program, with freshmen, supplementing it with transfers and portal guys. And man, it's hard though. It is really hard. You guys are going through it there at Murray State. I mean, you had a coaching change, and, there's 10, 11, 12 new guys on the roster. And, you look throughout the Valley, and, I still believe this though, with fully committed, the teams that are going to be able to have the most continuity year in to year out, retaining key guys, those are the teams that are going to consistently find themselves the top of the Missouri Valley. It's such a great league, and I think you need to put a premium on that continuity piece. Of course, there's going to be exceptions to that every year, but I think year in and year out, you're going to see teams that, if they can invest, retain players, that's going to be a huge key.
4 of your top 5 scorers graduating or hitting the portal after the season. What was your recruiting focus this spring in the portal?
We wanted to add more playmaking. I felt like last year, Samaj Teal was really our only true guy that, as we got playing in the Missouri Valley, that really could break down the defense, touch paint, and we asked him to do an awful lot, and he was tremendous for us. When we had him last summer, had no idea that he'd be a first team all-league guard, and to his credit, he was terrific. But we needed to add more playmaking, and I felt like, through the portal, we were able to do that. We've got now 3 or 4 guys that I would consider you can put out there as primary ball handlers and be able to function and operate. And I think that's also going to, per your point earlier in our conversation, down the stretch in close games, having guards that you can put the ball in their hand, be able to control the game. I think that's going to make us much more efficient.
Well, you didn't name him, but I'm going to. I think that, man, of all the portal acquisitions in this league this summer, I don't know that he's number one, but I don't know that there's 2 or 3 guys ahead of him in Sterling Young, coming in from Florida A&M, SWAC Player of the Year, coming off the bench, guy averaged 17 a game. What excites you the most about Sterling Young and what he's going to be able to bring to you?
He can score the basketball, and he's a guy that will give us versatility. He was asked to do an awful lot. There at FAMU, and he's a guy that I think can play on and off the ball, which is really good. And that's why we wanted to add another couple playmakers, with him. So there'll be times where we can get him off the ball. I felt like Samaj would have been a better, more efficient player for us if we could have gotten him off the ball some. So, with Sterling, he can score with the ball in his hands. We needed to put some guys that could facilitate around him. And then also, a guy like Camp Wagner, who was on our roster last year, to space the floor and give Sterling room to operate. Really excited about, the possibilities and the versatility that we have, at those guard spots.
Camp Wagner, the one returner in that top 5 from last year, averaged 10 a game for you, 83 threes, a home run hitter for you, 7 games with at least 5, had that huge performance at Belmont where he made 9. Was there any part of him maybe last year that surprised you in the productivity you got from him, and what kind of leap would you like to see him make this summer?
Yeah, no question. I thought Camp had a tremendous year. He came in from, Rice. He didn't get, much of an opportunity there. He was battling a little bit of knee issues and some soreness. And, last summer, he was one of those guys where he was on a protocol of basically 2 days of work, and then he'd have to sit out a day. And we had to really manage his knee throughout the summer, and he got stronger, got more comfortable with that. And I think as we got into conference play, especially there in January, he was a guy that was more like the kid that we saw recruiting him out of high school. He came and visited us, and obviously he ended up going to Rice first. But I always liked his ability to be a little bit of a playmaker and facilitator as well. And, he's a legit 6'6". He's not a guy that you see on these rosters that, they list him at, 6'6", and he's really about 6'2" or 6'3". I mean, he's a legit 6'6" shot maker. And he really put in a lot of great work this spring with his ball handling and his ability to make plays. So I'm just excited to see the expansion of his game, that what he could do, what we saw in high school in his prep year at Link, I thought, would translate for us. And obviously last year, I think we're just at the tip of the iceberg with Camp Wagner.
The one asset that you have, we call them assets, that last year, I know just probably you didn't get as much as you thought you were going to get out of, was Marcus Harding. 6.4 rebounds, played about 18 minutes a game, started 29 games for you. But there are not a lot of 6'10", 250 dudes walking around this conference, and he's just such a unique physical force. What are you hoping to sort of unlock with Marcus this summer that man, we get to November, he can be the force that you guys hoped you were getting out of Central Michigan?
Yeah, no question. And I think Marcus would admit the same thing, that he had, a very pedestrian year. And it was one of those deals where, we're so excited that he was able to get that extra year because of the JUCO rule. And he and Derek Vorst, we felt like those two guys, for us, they should really solidify that 5 spot and provide, ample depth, ample scoring. And what we're looking for from those two guys at that 5 spot is to be double guys when you add up their production. I think there'll be some nights where, Marcus plays more minutes than Derek, and then there'll be other nights where, Derek's got it going. So I'm really excited about that tandem. And, it really does start with Marcus, though. He's an older guy. He's a veteran. As you mentioned, he started a lot of games for us. He was very durable. And I think it goes back to, just his overall conditioning and his commitment. And we had a long talk about that in the off season. And he really put in a lot of work this spring. And I'm excited. Haven't had a chance to see him in person for about 3 weeks. So, excited to see him this weekend when he arrives back on campus.
You guys play so fast, but when you have a 6'10", 250 guy, I mean, there's going to be some limit. He's not going to play 36 minutes for you, but I know you'd like more than 18. Is there sort of a sweet spot number that you think you'd like to be able to get him to this year?
Yeah, I think that sweet spot really is kind of that 22 to 25 minutes a game. And again, I think with him, and you factor in Derek Vorst, who, he's shown flashes, and, with Derek, it's a matter of just being able to stay healthy, his durability. But, with those two guys, they are capable of playing fast like we want to play and getting up and down the floor. And again, I really view that as a two-headed monster. We got two guys that, it's not going to be perfect where it's exactly 20 minutes each, but you know what? If we look up at the end of a game, and from that 5 spot, we've got 14 to 15 points, 11, 12 rebounds combined. I'm going to feel really good about that spot with those two guys.
We talk about players coming and going. You've had some coaching changes on your staff this spring as well. Justin Furr going to Barry to become a head coach. Tim Johnson moving on to Appalachian State. This 2.0 era of being a head coach and losing such a chunk of your staff. And I know how this works, that if you don't have two guys lined up already, you've probably got 200 resumes you've got to go through and figure out who you want to hire. What do you want in terms of maybe reshaping the vision of what you want on your staff to take this opportunity, and what are you looking for to replace those guys with?
The great news, and you hit the nail on the head. I had a couple guys that for each spot lined up pretty quickly. Talked to a couple people, and we've both positions kind of been they've been offered and accepted. So just waiting to go through the HR process, but going to certainly miss Justin Furr. Really happy for him getting an opportunity to be a head coach for the first time there, and then obviously going to miss Tim as well. But he had an opportunity to go back with Dustin Kearns, who he worked with prior, and he's about 2.5 hours from his parents there in North Carolina. So I can certainly appreciate a guy wanting to get back close to his family. I understand that completely. So going to miss those two guys. But when you look at this day and age in college basketball, I think it's really important to hire guys that have a vast network. And I was able to replace Tim with a gentleman that he's got a lot of coaching experience, and I can actually say he's going to be the elder statesman on the staff. So somebody that's a little older than myself, but again, brings a wealth of knowledge, a lot of experience. And I think, with the way recruiting's going, it's the network, being able to make one phone call, reach out to a lot of different people. But then also for me, and I always prioritize the type of people that you want in your program. And you want guys that are team ego. They're about the players. They're about getting better, great staff chemistry. And I think that starts there, because if you don't have great staff chemistry, the players pick up on that, and you just can't achieve as much as you want to at the end of the day. And I'm super excited about the guys that are going to be joining the staff here soon.
8 hours a week for the next couple of months through the summer before we get rolling there in late September. What's your favorite part on the court, off the court, of these next 4 months of team building with this 25-26 roster?
The favorite part on the court is just to watch the growth into the togetherness and guys come together, and the light bulb starts to flicker. The way we want to play offensively, as fast as we want to play, and all the reads and different ways that we want to get into our stuff, guys' heads are spinning the first week or two. They have no idea what's going on. And to see that light bulb start to flicker in July towards the end, it's really fun to see. And then off the court, my favorite part is really just getting to know these guys and to see their personalities, come out, and see who's going to be more the alphas, who the team jokester is, different things like that. That's a great thing for me to see and develop, and just getting a chance for those guys to come into my office, sit down, and just get to know their stories. That's a lot of fun for me in the off season.
You're going to play an exhibition game at the old stomping ground. Going back to Hinkle Fieldhouse to play Butler there in late October. How excited did you go back there now as a head coach?
No, I'm extremely excited. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a great experience for our program. I had a person ask me, "Hey, you going there to win the game?" I said, "Well, yeah, we're going to try to win, but we're going to go there and we're going to play 12, 13 guys to try to win the game. It's not one of those regular season games. You're going to do a full-blown scout, play your top 7 guys and try to do it that way. But we're going to roll out there. We're going to compete. We're going to get everybody an opportunity to, get a chance to run up and down the court there in Hinkle Fieldhouse. Some of those guys, I was spoiled. I got to run up and down that floor for 5 years as a player. I think it's one of the most iconic gyms in the country. It's one of the best floors to play on in the country. So, I'm excited for, my team to get an opportunity to play in that building.
Do you like the rule change that we've been able to get away from these double secret probation scrimmages and now being able to play in front of people a couple of times?
I do. It's a double-edged sword. We're actually going to do one exhibition, as you mentioned, with Butler, and then we're also still going to do one closed scrimmage. And I love the closed scrimmage concept because, you can play more than 40 minutes.
Right.
You can set those up a little bit and you get more game action, and you can work on different combinations of things. So I love the rule change. I honestly wish they would give you 3 of them. I think, this season is so long, as you know, Jeff. We've started in the summer. We get going, in late August when we get back to school. And then I think you could really fit in 3 exhibitions / close scrimmages. And I think that would really help the game.
The other part, I know coaches like playing behind closed doors too, is you can experiment and things can go badly and you don't have to worry about your fans losing their minds.
That's right. That's right. Well, and that's part of it. And again, that's the hard part about these exhibition games.
Yeah.
I think it's a great opportunity to go play, Butler. But at the same time, if you go up there and you play, let's say you have a top 7 by then, which I doubt we will, but how impactful is that for your other guys? So I think you got to juggle both sides of, getting out there in front of the fans, getting excitement, but also you got to have your team prepared because, as we know, the 20-game gauntlet that we play in the Missouri Valley is really tough. And then, the 1 week in Arch Madness, I mean, anything can happen.
Absolutely. Wrapping up here, you part of that 2010 staff at Butler that played for a national championship against Duke. November 14th, you're going to Cameron Indoor to take on the Blue Devils. Have you ever been there and coached? Or
yes, my first year my second year in coaching when I was at Butler in 03, our 03 team played down there in Cameron Indoor. So it's a great experience. I'm excited for the players and our staff that haven't been there to get to experience that. And, just really appreciative of, that opportunity to put Indiana State, in the national spotlight there in the first week and a half of the season.
Last question before I let you get out. Once upon a time as a senior, you dropped 42 on Cleveland State. When's the last time you brought that up to your players?
You know what? We were recruiting a kid about a month or so ago, and our players were around, and the kid was from Ohio and that Cleveland area. And one of my assistants made a remark about that game. I guess it's still the arena record to this day. That 42-point game. The biggest negative, the whole situation, I don't talk about it too often, is we still lost the game.
Oh, no.
So that took a little bit of a luster off of it for sure. But long time ago, Jeff.
Hey, listen, the grandkids don't need to know about the loss. They just need to know you dropped 42. And,
there you go.
Grandpa was pretty good back in the day. So Matthew Graves, head coach at Indiana State, thank you so much for the time today, and enjoy these last 5 days of peace and quiet before everything gets real on Monday.
No, I appreciate it, Jeff. Let's do it again. Thank you.
That's good. Thanks, Coach. All right, there is Matthew Graves at Indiana State. And I'm always, again, it's funny. We were talking with Barth Brooks on Monday about playing in Hinkle Fieldhouse and kids being coaching and the whole Hoosiers story. And I was like, I know, look, I watched Hoosiers in 7th grade and I'm old. So I know kids today probably have no idea about the movie Hoosiers, let alone that, hey, maybe their head coach in Matt Graves, dropped 42 back in the day against Cleveland State. They certainly don't know it. But if I'm him, man, anytime anybody wants to run their mouth a little bit, be like, hey, when's the last time you scored 42? I got 42 in the toolbox. So best of luck to him this summer, and hopefully we'll be able to get him on again soon. All right, let's see some other news and notes here as we get out of here. Some old friends alerts as Cade Tyson, the former Belmont guard, transferred, of course, to North Carolina last year. Didn't really get a whole lot of run, but ultimately has now transferred again, and this time he is on his way to the University of Minnesota. Former Valpo head coach Matt Loddick has found a new home, and he is an assistant coach now. He's joining the staff at Grand Canyon. Of course, Grand Canyon coached by Valparaiso legend Bryce Drew. So the connective tissue there, not hard to figure out, as Coach Loddick has found a new home. Former now Murray State guard Adriana Blasquez has also announced her transfer, as she has found a new basketball home. She is headed to the Ohio Valley Conference from the Missouri Valley. She will go to SIUE. Just never really able to crack the rotation on a championship team last year at Murray State, and with everything they were bringing in, she thought her best option was to move on. So she is headed up the road from Murray to Edwardsville, Illinois, to play for SIUE. Looking ahead to the future, we have a commitment for the class of 2026 at Drake for Allison Pullman, and her name is Grace Fincham, the 5'11" guard from Iowa City, Iowa, just about 70 miles down the road from Des Moines, but she has made her decision early. It's always I always feel better about these kids that commit early, that they are very convicted in their decision, that I don't need to go through the summer. I don't need to go and see if I can make one last push for, hey, I've got some extra, I've got some more offers from this in the summer between my junior and senior year, and just trying to have one last push and see what I can get. It's like Allison Pullman has been on her and recruiting her, and it's like, I don't need to see any more. I am going to be a Drake Bulldog, and Grace Fincham has made that announcement. The last thing this morning is about collectives and NIL, and Illinois State women's basketball has just started a new push. The collective there at Illinois State is called Empower the Nest, and the subsection of that collective that deals with women's basketball is just entitled "Fly with Us," and they are pushing that for support our women's program through this NIL collective. Give us $10 a month, give us $1,000 a month, anywhere in between. Look, anybody give $1,000 a month? Who knows? But they're not going to do it unless you ask. So they're like, I think they have 6 different tiers of 10, 25, 50, 100, whatever it may be, and then you get certain benefits from those commitments on a monthly level there at Illinois State. We saw Bradley announce this about a month ago, where it's not that the collective hasn't already been there and already been available for the women's program, but frankly, the bottom line was, up until really now, is that the collectives have mostly been used for whatever the primary sport was at that school, and certainly men's basketball, maybe football in some instances, but probably more basketball, certainly at our level, has been important. What is happening now, and we are T-minus 26 days, it has still not been finalized, but basically the vast majority of certainly the upper half of colleges in America are waiting on this House settlement to be finalized, which would then mean, as of July 1st, that athletic departments, basically the NIL is moving in-house, and athletic departments would be able to share revenue and distribute that revenue to their athletes. There are roughly $22 million that they have the ability to do. Ohio State, Kentucky, Kansas, they will distribute $22 million. Illinois State, Murray State, Bradley, they do not have $22 million in revenue, but they have some amount of money, whatever it may be, that will be distributed to certain segments of their athlete population. Again, men's basketball likely going to be the number one sport in that situation. Now, there was sort of an initial thought maybe a year ago when this House settlement conversation started that we're not going to need collectives anymore. And the first sort of rebuttal to that thought process was, oh yeah, we will, because we'll take Ohio State, for example. They've got $22 million. I can all but guarantee all $22 million from that revenue share is going to football. Well, they still have men's basketball and baseball and women's, whatever other sports that they want to spend money on, that they have to be able to raise money. And that's why they're going to need their collectives. Well, what we have seen now in the women's game in the Missouri Valley is those collectives, which were sort of catch-alls, but probably likely primarily focused on men's basketball. Now that the men's basketball is being taken out and gone into this revenue share and they're being taken care of there, well, you still have the collective. Let's put our weight behind it and try to raise money for the women's basketball program. Because right now, at our level, NIL is all but nil, if not nil, all but nil. And so to get this collective behind, and look, even if they only raise 20 grand, whatever it may be, it's 20 more grand than you had before. And but for there to be a public push now, Bradley doing it a couple of weeks ago, Illinois State doing it. We'll see what other schools want to hop on this. And really sort of refocus their efforts and refine their focus on raising money for women's basketball through their collectives. But look, we can't lose here. We can only win. Whatever money we get is money we didn't have before. And certainly with a program like Illinois State that has had the success they have had, Bradley is on the rise with Coach Popovic-Goss as she's getting ready for year 4. That strike while the iron's hot. And for sort of a, I think this is not $1 million budgets. I mean, like if literally if a women's program in the Missouri Valley is somehow able to sort of patch together 6 figures worth of money, that is a wildly impactful number that they are going to be able to help distribute and get talent. And most importantly, as we have talked about forever, is retaining talent in their programs. And when you get people that are, there are people that are a segment of the fan base that's kind of turned off by the NIL and turned off by all the money getting thrown around. And it's like, well, but it's, yes, there's still money, but maybe it's a little more of a mom and pop enterprise on the women's side. And people will get behind that. And so that is, again, this to me is just a no lose situation. Any money you can get is more money than you had before. And so kudos to Bradley, kudos to Illinois State for really now publicly pushing these collectives to try to help their programs out. And we'll see how that progresses here in the coming months for other programs around the Missouri Valley. I want to thank Matthew Graves for being with us today, Indiana State head coach. Coming up on Friday, really excited about this one. Valparaiso head coach Roger Powell will join us as well. Monday morning, Indiana State women's head coach Mark Mitchell joins us. So we've got the next week knocked out. If you haven't been with us yet on YouTube, please head over, search out Morning in the Valley, and subscribe to that page. You'll get the notification every time we go live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday here in the off season at 9 a.m. And once we get into the season, it will be a whole lot more than Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So get subscribed, and we will really appreciate that. As again, that will help us continue to grow and get us out in that old algorithm and allow more folks to love Missouri Valley Conference basketball like you and me to be able to see this program. So that'll do it for today here on Monday, June the 4th. Glad you have been with us. Again, thank you one more time to Indiana State men's basketball coach Matthew Graves. Thanks to you for watching us this morning, and we will see you on Friday morning here on Morning